Welcome back to the Mountain Morning Show, and I'm joined by Travis and McGhee from FuturesANIMal. Welcome to the show.
Joe, nice to meet you.
It's nice to have you here. We're going to have you here quite a little bit over the next 15 weeks in addition to today.
Right. Thought we'd bring a little spice to PCTV and talk about finance.
I love talking money.
Yeah, right.
That's kind of my thing here. So to get to do that for a little while is going to be a lot of fun.
Sure.
Especially, I've always thought that one of the most interesting is well, of course it is to anybody. I think the stuff that's the most speculative, the stuff that you kind of got to it's a little more risky, a little more fun, a little more exciting. I think is always a lot of fun to talk about, and I think it also gives you a real good idea of how things are going. Certainly it's kind of an economic indicator, I think. So it gives you an idea of how the country's moving forward.
Right, right. Yeah, and I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head. Certainly the speculative part of investing is what keeps people really excited.
Yeah.
It's just
win a lot, or
right. But at the same time,
maybe not.
But exactly. But at the same time, it's the same factor that keeps a lot of people out of the market is that fear of risk.
Right.
So.
But that's one of the things that is an interesting part of that you and I were discussing off camera is that, of course, if you're a retail investor, if you're just a person like myself, who's going to you're not I'm not a big company that's investing my money. I'm not doing it with other people's money.
Right.
That is for a lot of people even a little more fearful. They look at that as being more scary, and the reason that they do that is because they have never had all the tools with them. They don't have it's just like being an auto mechanic, right?
Sure.
You're willing to do an oil change. I'll do that.
Right.
But I'm not willing to take the motor out of the car because I don't have all the tools to do it with.
Right.
And that gets a little scarier, right? And you wonder if you're going to be able to put it back together.
Exactly.
That's where you guys come in because this is a new look on doing this.
So the issue at hand for a lot of investors, particularly retail investors, a lot of folks approach investing and just assume that it's easy and everybody can do it and they're going to be fine, and you buy a stock, you hold it, and you hope that it goes up. The market's a little more complicated now than it was even 5-10 years ago. That's not always the case. It's no different, and I like to use the analogy, it's no different than driving a car. When you're 16 years old, you would love to assume that you can just jump in a car and start driving, but you still have to go through all the coursework, you have to go through driver's education, you have to test drive the car, so on and so forth. So there's this education element involved with it, and the same thing applies to finance.
Sure.
So, for example, in my background, in having worked on Wall Street, when we went into the firm to work for a firm, they didn't hand you a bag of money and say start investing.
Exactly.
There's a 2 to 3 year program you have to go through of education.
To take you back to your car analogy, it is the learner's permit. Right. That's the time when you're going to do under the tutelage of someone else. You're going to be managing, maybe helping manage an account, but you're not given full reign to do what you want and to take the car wherever. We don't say, oh, go take that windy road down the mountainside. We say, take it easy. Let's go down this this suburban street. Exactly.
So at FuturesANIMal, the company that I created, this is kind of the foundation of what we believe in, and this is what quite a few of us brought from our experience on Wall Street and trading was to create a program. And I literally mean a program where our members come in, and it's not simply give us your money and let us invest it for you or let us apply what we know. We want to, one, educate you. So there's an educational element. So we're educating you in exactly what we're doing, what we're investing in, how we're investing, so that you understand what we're doing. And then at the same time, we have professional brokers that are working with you to take your money and apply it within the market.
So partnership.
It's a partnership, exactly.
And that brings us to, we've got a slide here of tips for the investor. I think that brings us to that because it is you providing information, providing tools, providing education, me making some decisions back with you. That is what makes this exciting. So tell me a little bit about what we've got here.
Yeah, so number one tip that I always have when I talk to folks, is particularly retail investors, about how to get started in the market is get educated. It's simple. There's so much information available on the web. It's free. It's free information.
You can find anything you want about a company or about a product.
Exactly.
By
just take the time. We spend more time setting up our fantasy football teams than we do managing what is most important to us, which is our financial well-being. So get educated. The second tip is by getting educated, you can understand and control risk. Again, we go back to a lot of investors are scared of the market because of the risk involved. You know, Warren Buffett said that, and I use this, I think it really rings home true, that risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. And it's very true. If you understand what you're doing, you understand the risk involved, and you can try and control and mitigate it.
All right, and we've got block out the noise. Oh, there goes our slide there.
That's okay.
So talk about block out the noise.
So block out the noise. It's very easy to get overly inundated with everything that's going on in the world. You hear it in the news, you see it online, you see it on Facebook, you see it on Twitter. Try to block out the noise with your everyday investments. Again, understand your time perspective, long-term, short-term. You don't have to listen to everything. The world's not going to end tomorrow.
And our last one was get help.
Yeah, get help. You don't have to involve your entire family. You don't have to involve all your friends, but find a partner. Find someone that you trust, that's a good resource, that you can run ideas by, and let them help you. And that's one of the things we bring to the table at FuturesANIMal is we're here to help you.
That's awesome. I love that. I think that you know, you never want to go in. I don't like to go into anything without a buddy. You know, that's just what I learned. You know, maybe in the military. I don't know where I learned that, but the buddy system to me was always probably in elementary school is where I learned that. Right?
Exactly.
We probably went to elementary school about the same time. It was important to always have a buddy with you, and I think that's when we look at anything, especially when it's something like this, where your buddy can know more than you about it. He can help you through it. That's way better.
Right. It's easy to put the blinders on, and when you're looking at something, you tend to be biased in your opinion of it. It's nice just get a second set of eyeballs on it and have that person tell you, yeah, what you're seeing is right, or, you know, I don't think this is a good idea.
I want to take us back to the educated part for just a minute. I remember one of my favorite quotes, or one of my favorite books even, Donnie Deutsch's rule number 1 investing. Rule number 1 is don't lose money. Yeah. And it's the same, you know, and rule number 2 is don't forget rule number 1, and you know, which is it's such a great thing. But it got right to your fantasy football thing. He said, look, you've got to absolutely go in and investigate every part of every company that you're thinking about putting money to, because that is going to determine whether you are successful or not. So, or whether you can not break rule number 1.
Exactly.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about your history because it's fascinating to me. I love the trading floor. I especially love the pit.
Yeah.
You know, that's probably the coolest place ever. And you were in one of the wildest pits of all in the Chicago Commodities and Exchange, right?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that experience.
It's kind of a crazy history, right? So it was crazy. I got involved in Chicago. That's really kind of the culture.
You know,
that's the industry in Chicago. So I actually got started.
Some tough guys in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Some very
scary.
So you know what was funny enough is I was a rugby player in college, and that's how I got introduced to the floor. Is my coach, my rugby coach, pulled me aside my senior year and said, "Hey, I'd love for you just to come work for me for a summer and see if you like it."
Got a winning spirit. You must have had that.
Exactly. So I don't know what it was, but I got down there and it was tough. It was definitely a school of hard knocks, but I fell in love with it. I just fell in love with the market. I fell in love with you know, just everything that the Chicago trading pits were. So I ended up you know, earning a spot as a trader within the firm. And I traded at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, Chicago Board of Options Exchange, Board of Trade.
Options are exciting.
Yeah, so I traded all over in Chicago, and then kind of moved from there into the investment banking world to where I was managing money for, you know, large institutions, very high net worth individuals, you know, and you know, implementing the risk management strategies that I used on the floor, options. In their portfolio. So that's kind of what set me apart from other people.
I think if you know how to manage options and the risk and the speed at which options can move, and of course it's a lot different now. I think that really does set you up really well for someone especially when you're working longer term with someone. I think that's, you know, because you're still reactive to the market, yet you're not overreactive.
Right.
That's an important thing, I think. I want to talk a little bit about, you know, you kind of made a wise change there, leaving just as everything changed on the floor, where we went to more computers, where the pits kind of diminished. Do you miss that a little bit?
I do.
I miss the wide gap that was there financially.
Yeah. No, I miss it. I certainly missed the floor. I missed the camaraderie. You know,
Yeah.
it was a very special place. But it's like you said, a lot has changed over the last 10 years. Certainly since I first started on the floor, and guys before me, it's just a completely different world. But there's some pros and cons with everything that's happened.
Right.
With everything going computerized, and I know it tends to freak people out a little bit. Certainly lately with system outages at the NASDAQ.
Yeah.
We had a huge system outage that most folks probably didn't hear about yesterday, where all the options exchanges went down.
Oh, man.
No, so it was huge. So there's some pros and cons with that. The con is that the spread, so the bid
Right.
and the ask on option pricing is was a little wider. It's now tighter.
Because that was people, and
Right.
that was influenced
There's a human
by,
element.
Yeah,
Right.
it was influenced by excitement of what was going on and jockeying for position. That was a big
Exactly.
part of that. That margin there is gone.
So you bring in computers, which means you're bringing in more speed to the market, more active participants,
And more information.
and the spreads are naturally going to get tighter, which, you know, for a professional who's making money
Right.
on the spreads, you know, it kind of hampers their game a little bit. But for the everyday investor, it's great because it provides liquidity. So it's
Right.
easy to get in and out. And that's one of the things I noticed. One of the key takeaways I had on the floor is when I learned to trade options, you know, I discovered that they're really a critical tool for risk management and protecting a portfolio. And all the large institutions, the hedge funds, everyone, the people that I was executing orders for, were using them. And I said, you know, this is something that more retail investors need to be aware
Yeah.
of and need to start implementing into their
That's
portfolio.
what I want to know when I'm doing stuff.
Exactly.
Absolutely, it's the knowledge I want. Well, speaking of that, I think we're hoping that maybe you and I will get to do a little paper trading.
Sure.
Over the next little while. So over the next 15, 16 weeks, we'll see if we get to do that. But that might be a little bit of fun for us to see how I do, especially with your tutelage. That will be great. I'm hoping that we get to do that. But in addition, certainly we're going to have you back to talk more about all the different things investment-wise. You know, and I say that
Absolutely.
wise with some truth to that a little bit. We really want to be wise about the investing that we do. And I'm looking forward to getting that information from you.
I'm looking forward as well. And you know, if any of the viewers, I'm always open too. If you have questions or a particular topic,
Yeah.
shoot it over to us. You know, and you know, Joe and I, we can go over it.
Follow with us, you
Yeah.
know, and give us your questions. Why not?
Yeah.
Send some questions to you can always send them to me, Joe at ParkCity.tv, or write to you, you know, to FuturesANIMal.
Yeah.
And we can start talking about those things as we go forward.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right, Joe.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. What's the website address?
Okay, it's www.futuresanimal, all one word, .com. You can email me directly. You can call me. Whatever the case may be, but it should be a fun and exciting 15 weeks. We're going to bring a little spice to finance.
We sure are.
Keep it exciting.
All right, Travis McGhee. We'll be with him every week for the next 15 weeks. We'll be back with more on the Mountain Morning Show right after this.